It really does matter to Ukraine. They have until January 20th or till the U.S. inauguration, till the changeover in the United States to try to make some changes on the ground because everybody anticipates there will be a negotiation. And so the stronger they can be on the ground, the better for them. And also, of course, they need to protect their cities and civilian areas from these glide bombs that are coming in from far away. And so these missiles, the use of these missiles will make a big difference.
Soon, perhaps within hours, missiles made by and paid for by the United States could be fired at Russian targets inside Russia itself. It could help Ukraine to stop some of the Russian attacks that are killing civilians and crippling their cities. But there are concerns about the war escalating. The former Putin advisor and MP Sergei Markov told us that letting Ukraine use its missiles in Russia could lead to disaster.
Look at the history of the World War One. Nobody wanted the war, but war happened. It what became the absolutely catastrophe. That's exactly what could happen now. Nobody, of course, wants to have a nuclear war. But if you go the escalation steps, this escalation of the and will move you to this direction. It's very easily.
Yeah, the threat of nuclear war. He brought up the first answer to his question, which of course lots of Putinistas do. It's part of their general threatening behaviour, but there we are. We can speak now to Karin von Hippel, Director General of the Royal United Services Institute. Karin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Sergei Markov often tells us things that aren't true, but the issue of escalation, we throw in the North Korean soldiers that are there as well. Is there any danger of this policy having unwanted effects?
Personally, I don't think so, given that the U.S. government is about to change. And I think President Putin is looking forward to sitting down with President Trump. So I don't think he would do anything to rock the boat in a significant way. But it really does matter to Ukraine. They have until January 20th or till the U.S. inauguration, till the changeover in the United States to try to make some changes on the ground because everybody anticipates there will be a negotiation. And so the stronger they can be on the ground, the better for them. And also, of course, they need to protect their cities and civilian areas from these glide bombs that are coming in from far away. And so these missiles, the use of these missiles will make a big difference.
Does it matter when we think from a geopolitical point of view if Western weapons kill North Koreans in Russia? Because that's a nuclear power in the West, enabling the killing of citizens of a nuclear power, that's North Korea, generally supported by another nuclear power, that's China, in the country of yet another nuclear power, that's Russia. Is there a problem there?
Well, I wouldn't ever try to second guess what Kim Jong-un will do because who knows, but he has jumped into another conflict. And so he has to expect that his troops will get killed. The North Koreans have something like 1 million soldiers, so they do have plenty to spare. Most of these North Koreans have no idea about the terrain. They don't understand the language. Many of them are probably looking for ways to defect to the West. And that's probably why they're in Russian Kursk, even if the Ukrainians are there as well, because at least they can be watched by Russian soldiers. So I don't think I suspect if they get killed, the North Koreans might provide more because they're getting, I'm sure, cash and other technology in exchange. So I don't expect that. I think the South Koreans, of course, are always worried about these kinds of movements. I think others in Asia, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, just about the widening of this war with North Korea already supplying ammunition and other weapons to Russia. So I think that's already underway. And I think this is really for the Biden's decision is really to give Ukraine a stronger hold of the negotiating table when that happens.
And do we know what China thinks of this? Because presumably North Korea doesn't do that much without China at least tacitly supporting it.
Well, these relationships are very complicated. I mean, I think China and North Korea are not at their strongest right now. I think China is a bit worried about Russia getting closer to North Korea. That being said, I think North Korea generally has to get the nod from China for doing things. It's, again, I can't say, nobody really knows what happens in North Korea, so you can't say what has happened between those two countries. But certainly China is trying to play a slightly different role than Iran and North Korea and Russia, which are really in the so-called axis of evil. China still has relationships with the United States, with the United Kingdom, with Europeans. And so China is trying to do a balance, a fine balance. It's not always succeeding because we do know they're providing dual-use technology to Russia that can be used for weapons. But I think China is probably just going to stay very quiet.
Yeah, there's a front page of the Times today. Starmer wants to build new rapport with China. He'll be meeting President Xi at the G20 in Rio probably today. Just finally, Trump's arrival on the stage, Karen. I can't work it out. He says he wants to end the war. We've heard Russians say they know that Trump wants to end the war. We've had Ukrainians say that Trump wants victory. He doesn't want another Afghanistan. He'll want a victory over Putin that he can claim credit for. But I can't see how this actually ever works in real life, because either there are Russians in the Donbass and Crimea, or there aren't. And it strikes me that Trump can't really control either of those things.
No, he can't. And I don't think he has said he wants Ukrainians to have a victory, actually. I think maybe the Ukrainians are saying that. But, I think he would be very happy for, and we've heard J.D. Vance as well say, for there just to be a freeze on the territory already taken. That doesn't necessarily mean Ukraine says we're ceding this territory, in perpetuity, but it would certainly be a frozen conflict that could be, kickstarted again later. I think what the Ukrainians will need more than anything, if they are going to concede or temporarily concede territory like between the two Koreas, is security guarantees by the West. And I don't know what Trump would be willing to promise to Ukraine. That's really the difficulty. And that's probably why Biden took this decision, to be able to strengthen their hand. But they will need security guarantees from the UK, from NATO countries, with or without the United States.
Yeah. What actually happens on this, if anything, because Trump doesn't always do anything he says he's going to do, will be fascinating. Karen, great to speak to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's Karin von Hippel, Director General of the Royal United Services Institute.
President Joe Biden's administration is giving the green light to Ukraine to use U.S.-made weapons to strike deep into Russia. That's according to 2 U.S. officials and a source familiar with the decision. This military drill video shows the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, which have a range of nearly 200 miles.
Morning, Mr. President. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
More importantly, how are the children? Good. Amazing to see you. Beautiful expression.